Ooh, and I think we're in. Are we in the internet? It's
We
a
are.
wonderful man. What a fun place. This is so good. But we're no strangers. We've been here before, and so has our audience. Thanks everyone for coming again today for a LinkedIn live broadcast brought to you by your favorite home care franchisor, A Place at Home. My name is Mitch Benson. I'm the franchise development manager here, and I'm joined by Anna Kreiger, our brand strategy specialist. What up, Anna?
Hey.
Oh my gosh, it's been a while, right? It feels like Care Coalition with Aubrey and Dean. It just happened last week. What a wonderful presentation they had. I,
Yeah, theirs was really great. If you missed it, you should definitely go back and watch that.
absolutely. And Anna, where could you watch that if I wanted to go back?
On our Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube channels.
Boom, the three horsemen, as it were. How fun, right? Well, what we got to share last week was about Dina and all the great work that she's been doing in and around Philadelphia for her community. But we want to talk a little bit today about again some folks who might be considering, joining the senior care space as business owners and as entrepreneurs. And I think we're going to get after potentially like the biggest question that a lot of folks have when considering entrepreneurship, right? What we're going to talk about today, right, is what makes non-medical home care businesses profitable, right? Am I going to get return on this investment? Is this something that I can actually see myself doing? And if so, right, can I be profitable enough to earn an income that replaces and potentially grows whatever I was making before for myself and my family? Right? That sounds like the $1 million question, generally speaking, right?
It
But
really kind of is.
yeah. Well, I mean, I can imagine since you're just on the other side of the wall from me, right? You can hear this question all the time, right?
Way too often. Everyone wants to know, are they profitable?
Mhm. Well, certainly, right? And to me, that really hits it, right? Our topic here almost assumes that our businesses are profitable, right? But I think you hit it. We ought to just like take a step back, right?
A little bit.
Yeah,
Just clarify for everybody.
yeah, that these businesses are in fact profitable, right? And how do we know this, right? Well, we know it from a lot of the conversations that we have with candidates considering senior care right off the bat. Some of the biggest questions we hear is like, man, there's a lot of competition in this space. And you're right, you absolutely are. Why is there a lot of competition in this space, right? I could, generally speaking, feel good about saying, well, it's not because everybody's losing money, right? It's because there's an enormous demand for what we do here. There's folks committed to serving the end user, our clients and their families, and they can develop strong businesses that help them do this, right? When you think of the thousands of home care agencies across our country doing all this great work, it should speak for itself. Indeed, folks are supporting themselves in this business, right?
Absolutely. So now that we know they're profitable, what about how are they profitable though?
Well, exactly right. If we know, right? But for real, like how much can we expect, right? And Anna, I want to share a little bit about this, right? Because this is the next logical question. If we know that a business is profitable, then how profitable are they? It's an obvious question that comes to mind, as it should be, right? But in the world of franchising, right, answering that question has some nuance associated with it, right? But here's the thing, Anna, it didn't always be that. It wasn't always that way, right? 40s, 50s, 60s, things like this, we could essentially say whatever we wanted to about the financial performance of a franchise, right? This is a really sketchy Wild West time of owning these kinds of businesses, and a lot of promises were made to a lot of folks, and some were definitely successful, of course. Others found mixed results and felt misled about ultimately what profits they could have expected having used this system, right? And where we're at today in the world of franchising is a much more protected environment for consumers or potential franchisees, right? We're still asking the same important question, the same thing you hear me answer on the other side of the wall, but our potential candidates have more resources and protections when it comes to answering that question, right? And the best place for us to answer the big question of how profitable can I be in this industry is with a franchise disclosure document, right? If you're considering a franchise, then that brand will have a franchise disclosure document to share with you, unlike an independent venture or doing something on your own, right? if you are working with a franchisor, then this is a key piece of the process, right? Now, the answer to this question is buried deep inside of this document, but there's a lot of really great resources online to help candidates comb through this massive document. The franchisor themselves could be of some service to you and educate you on where to look, right? Um, for that reason, right, we can get very specific about the profitability of a place at home franchisees. I'm happy to share that with anybody in the LinkedIn-verse to work a little closer with what we do here. But let's just give you a ballpark figure. How profitable are senior home care agencies? Right. And we can draw on some information by a great organization called Franchise Business Review. Right. These are some of the most trusted experts in satisfaction surveys and franchisee data in our space. And they say from a data report compiled in 2021 that annual incomes for senior care franchise owners open for longer than 2 years, right, was about $150,000, right? About 150,000. Not bad, generally speaking. And indeed, compared to a lot of incomes for a lot of other franchise owners, it stacks up really well comparatively. Okay. So if we ask that question, right, we know businesses are profitable, but let's talk a little bit about how profitable they are. A good rule of thumb is to use that figure from Franchise Business Review.
Yeah, that is a good number to go off of, and a good thing that our viewers might not even realize that they are that profitable. It takes a minute, but you get there.
Exactly. And I like how you say that, and it takes a minute. Franchise Business Review looks at that first 24 months in your business as something of a ramp up period, right? If folks on the call today are looking at franchises, ask them what they think their ramp up period is. But that's what they're thinking of there. And indeed, that's a great opportunity to replace an income, right? But through our conversation today, we'll talk a little bit about, okay, I want to replace it, but let's grow it, right? How can I increase that profitability? We'll get there in a second.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and dive into like what makes it so profitable?
Exactly. Well, to us, we need to see first and foremost, before ever jumping into a business opportunity, what is your investment, right? If you're essentially spending over $1 million on a business venture, that's upfront costs that are built into your return on that investment, right? You got to make that money back, and that's going to push out your return considerably into the future, depending on what it is, right? Well, when we look at a service heavy, hands on people business like a senior home care agency, that upfront investment is very low, right? Why? Because we don't have a dozen trucks sitting outside. Why? We don't have to build a retail structure. Why? We don't have a warehouse full of inventory that must be held at all times for the success of your business, right? That upfront investment just keeps on getting littler and littler so that you're out the gate with a small barrier that you have to overcome to hit profitability, right? That's a big reason why senior care is often regarded as a low cost franchise, right? Um, but once you can do that, right, you already started with a pretty low investment comparatively speaking. We then need to talk about this ramp up period. Well, just like that, we heard numbers earlier that suggest in 24 months an annual income could be something like $150,000. If you connect that pretty closely with the initial investment you made, you're make you're in a good place for your business at that time. That ramp up period is really fast in this business. Of course, like 3 grains of salt here, the franchisee themselves determines the profitability and success of your business, right? That's the whole point. You're in the middle of it, really driving this ship here, right? Uh, but the thing that I like to talk about to every candidate, kind of seeing how the first part of your business starts with investment, those first 2 years as you're going there, right? Where does it go from here? This is really exciting. That ultimately, what makes a home care agency so profitable is an uncapped potential, right? If you and I are working in some sort of business that has a retail space, there's only so much inventory we can hold to sell, right? If we're in a service based brick and mortar, there's only so many customers we can get inside the building to help them, right? That's not true in senior care. We don't have any of those limitations, right? We can grow in a certain sense, really exponentially. And that potential in the senior care industry is very much uncapped, right? And that's really exciting for me.
I know we've done another live about this, or I think we have anyway, but would you almost say, like, even though it goes with your uncapped potential, we're almost a little recession resistant?
Mhm, mhm. That's a great piece, right? You're exactly right, because recession resistance, right? Is everybody on the call has likely seen this in your LinkedIn feed or probably heard the other lives that me and Anna did, right, about this. It's senior care is very much recession resistant, right? Because it focuses on some of the core areas that American families continue to spend on when spending gets tough, right? Spending on those you love, right? Spending it on the place that you live, right? And spending it in key areas, right? That really will be the priority, right? When times get tough. Okay. That's what proves recession resistance, right? And when we think of the ones that we love, that area of spending that lasts even through recessions or downturns, right? Our aging loved ones are at the top of that list, right next to our kids, right? And oftentimes it's before ourselves, right? But indeed, we need to take care of us, right? This is the core of this whole thing. But that gives us this kind of rising demand that almost, goes against some economic downturn, right? Because generally speaking, that kind of spending won't slow down because it's prioritized, right? I love in one of the videos that our co-founders made years ago when they started this business. They have a testimonial of a client who kind of works through, right, the balancing act they needed to do as a family to be sure that their loved ones are taken care of. It's right there in the video, and it proves our point today that senior care, right, is definitely recession resistant.
For sure. And then I know another one that we've always talked about, or what about the difference between non-medical home care and medical? Which is a better investment for people who are looking in this field?
Mhm. You know, that's a good one, and we've talked, about other aspects of this topic, right? When medical skilled home health businesses come into play, but in today's conversation, right, we're always talking about profitability. I think the main thing to consider, if you and I, right, Mitch and Anna's Home Health LLC are starting here, right? M&A Home Health, that's not bad. We could probably do something here, right? If we needed to consider what that looked like, ultimately, the biggest thing we're thinking about is the upfront investment, how that impacts your quick ramp up period, right? And what that kind of potential is like downfield, right? The upfront investment in skilled medical home health, right, is going to be higher, right? Uh, that ultimately comes from having enough, salary dollars, right, to be sure that your skilled employees are paid for their work while you are essentially working with billing to essentially get reimbursed for those services, right? Now, that's not uncommon in the world of business ownership, right? There's a lot of businesses that are focused on essentially, billing insurance, right? I'm thinking of kind of disaster cleanup or, uh, waste removal, things like that, things that happen from emergencies or storms, stuff like this, right? There's a lot of businesses and a lot of great work gets done here in this way. Uh, what we would need to do to make sure we understand the profitability and determine whether or not this is the right choice for us is understand, are you capitalized to withstand that longer than average billing cycle, right? There's a lot of ways to do that. The best way, just have a whole lot more money. Right? There you go. That's the end of the end of the story. If you can do that, then great. But if that's our solution, maybe we have other options to think of too. If we just have more total investment to be done here, but when you can do that, when you can essentially have a capitalization plan that lets you kind of survive these early, longer term billing cycles, uh, then you're starting to think more strategically and longer term, right? In that previous number we talked about before, 24 months, you're thinking more like 36, 48, 5 years, things like this, right? Because you can afford to do that. Your ramp up period necessarily must be longer, generally speaking. To do that successfully, right, is the real question here, right? And it takes a bigger investment up front. Similarly, you're going to find a certain potential that has a lot of upside to it right? The skilled care world, generally speaking, is very much in demand, right, for what we're looking at. Part of what you'll find in the material that backs up our conversation today on our website, on our blog, right, talks about chronic conditions in our elderly population. Those are on the rise, right? Generally speaking, skilled care addresses that. So that need is still there. But can you lay the foundation in the earliest days to be sure you can get there, right? And when you can, we can answer all of that yes, then perhaps that would be a strong opportunity for you, right? But thinking about those in depth and honestly will get candidates on the call today a strong answer as to whether or not, right, a non-medical or a medical home care agency is right for you. Yeah.
See, so that makes a sense difference between our medical and non-medical, which is a constant discussion around this
Mhm.
office anyway, at least in
Mhm.
your world.
It is, and ultimately it sticks with us, right? Because uh, I, we were watching another presentation from some guests that we had on about the universal care team, right? Everybody who's on the side of providing a solution to our clients themselves. Home health is a part of that. Hospice is a part of that. Geriatric doctors are a part of that. Everybody is a part of that. And as entrepreneurs, we can see how we can make impacts on every level of that journey for our client, right? I would say the ones that are closest, in relation are what we do in non-skilled home care, as well as, combined with what we're talking about in home health. Yeah.
Yeah. So then what else, since we're on the non-medical, what are the other increases that are
Mhm.
going to add to our profits on the non-medical side?
Mhm. Exactly right. And this is where I want to spend like a lot of time, right? But what we've talked about so far is identifying that indeed the industry itself is profitable. These are the reasons why. Compare that to a very similar opportunity as well. But that's not where the story ends, right? We need to know like how do you get more? How do you do better? How do you provide more income for your family, for your kids, for your community, the biggest impact you can, right? Um, and this is probably the second biggest conversation we have after the profitability conversation with our candidates is how to scale this business through better recruitment and retention practices. Okay, that's just it. If the question is, how do I increase profits in my non medical home care agency? The answer is better recruitment and retention practices. Right? When you have that chance to have great care staff members joining your business, excited, committed to the mission that we have in front of us, right? And you as a business owner are thinking proactively about keeping them engaged, planning for the future, and retaining that great care staff member for your business, your profits are in a really good position to grow. Okay. And so is it for your care staff member. You're doing right by them, essentially planning their stability, making sure exactly what you want to do, just provide for your family and make an impact in your community, right? And it's not necessarily easy, right? I don't want to lie to anybody here. When we talk about the challenges of our industry, this is just it, right? But Anna, doesn't it make sense? Like if I want to grow the success of my business, I have to tackle the biggest challenge of my industry and do it well. Right?
Yes, everything is always employee retention, a caregiver retention. You got to have caregivers to have clients. You got to have clients to have caregivers.
And it is right. If there was some other solution, that's what we'd be talking about right now. But it's not even what we want. We want to have more caregivers. We want to have more clients. We want to grow the impact of our business, right? And individuals on the call today, maybe they've had experience building large teams, right? Understanding projects in corporate America that will essentially require more robust employee counts to be able to pull off. And when that starts to happen, you're bringing in new hires, you're the person developing that individual, right? So that they can be in a position to achieve the goal for the company, right? If anybody's saying to themselves, well, yeah, I did that for XYZ company, or I was in ABC Enterprises and I had to do that all the time, that's the kind of work that we're addressing here in senior home care. It's exactly the same. And so I hope that it doesn't sound as scary or as crazy or as just like, oh my gosh, there's nothing we can do here. No, no, no. This is developing a large team to make big impacts, and the reward is intrinsic. Helping people is why we're here. But as the conversation today demonstrates, there's profit to be made here. There's a dollar amount that is associated with this kind of planning, this strategic development. and it's huge in our industry. Compared to others, it's larger, right? So when we tackle the biggest challenge of our industry, which is recruitment and retention for that manner, and we do it well, our businesses will grow and you will increase more profit, right? Um, but I've been getting into more and more conversations with our franchise system, with new candidates about not just the world of recruiting our great care staff members, but it's one step into our office, right? Senior services coordinators, marketing liaisons, those folks completing and adjusting our schedule, right? That's that individual who's in your office, okay? And if anybody who's owned a business before, those folks are extensions of you, right? Extensions of you. Think about that. Extensions of you. That sounds like a scalable opportunity. You just make more of you. Your impact doubles and exponentially grows. That's the next step, right? When it works, when you get more and more caregivers, you're going to need more and more person, having that interface with great care staff members and connecting them with great roles. That, my friends, is the jet fuel, right? That's the fast lane. You saw me when we were walking through the airport the other day. That's the moving stairs on the ground. All of a sudden, you're just flying, right? Those are like my favorite things ever. But anyway, it's the moving ground. I mean, oh my gosh, that's perfect. I wish this were everywhere. But but indeed, this is exactly like that, right? When you can use that same kind of strategic thinking, of that development of your staff in the field, and take that to your staff in the office, you are essentially addressing the challenges of business ownership, field employees, as well as those in your office, training them and developing them into leaders. And that will grow the profitability of your business, right? To us, it's becoming more and more of a topic in our system, and other systems have gone through this already. They have a lot to share as well. But this was just the topic of a roundtable we had with our franchisees not that long ago. But when we think of these two areas, and essentially, if we're independent owners on the call today, doing this, thinking about this, and growing your care staff members as well as your inner office team, right? Or if you're a franchisee, utilizing more and more resources by your franchisor to do that well, you're going to see increased profits in your business. Your revenues will grow, your impact will greatly grow, and more people will get your service, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely those offices that we have here that are strong, they're some of our top performers because they have so many more that can help handle so many more caregivers and so many more clients. So it's all about building those relationships to keep growing.
Mm-hmm. It's just like it. And I'm very proud of those leaders in the brand today who know what it takes to identify, lead, cultivate great individuals into their office, right? A lot of those folks come from the field, right? They were walking the walk. They were talking the talk. They were doing it, right? They were right in front of clients, impacting their lives positively, and now have that chance to flex another skill in the office. That's a great way to do it. And business owners outside of our system have found ways to get this done too, right? So you're exactly right. That is a key, right? If we're asking about what makes non-medical home care businesses profitable, and we already understand the foundations, right? This is what makes them more profitable, right? Investing in great people close to you to help your great care staff get closer and closer to their clients. That's what we're after. And brands like A Place at Home, this is where we spend our energy. This is what we're thinking about every day, right? This is what Dustin is yelling through his wall to Aubrey about, right? What up, Dustin? How's it going? But this is what we're focused on, and helping folks to do that. And business owners throughout the industry are thinking about it as well, so they can become more profitable and do more good work, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think this might be wrapping it up here for us for the day. But if people want to know more about this, they can definitely check out our blog at placeathomefranchise.com. And also go back and rewatch some of our previous videos we kind of mentioned on recession resistant and caregiver retention. If they're not already up, I know they are on our current list as we continue our blog series this month. But to Mitch, you want to give our spoiler for next week?
Oh man, spoiler. What are they going to talk about next week? Oh my gosh, it's because what we're talking about next week is so important, right? And essentially tomorrow is home care marketing, or not tomorrow, is next week, right? Is home care marketing ideas to get more clients, right? I'm bringing Aubrey back, right? Talking with Aubrey a little bit about that marketing sense and how we're doing it, right? How are you getting in front of more and more opportunities to serve? And what are some ideas to think of to get that done, right? So if anybody's saying, man, how do I get more clients for my business? I'll see you next week. All right.
Absolutely. We'll see everybody then. And we thank everybody who tuned in today and has followed along on our little series we've
Yeah.
had going.
It's been so wonderful. Thank you, Adriana, for being a part of this. Natalie, are you guys, commenting here, as well as Dustin, who's out here? He's probably heard I'm talking about him, so he's walking around, But it's been a lot of fun to share this information with you guys over these weeks. But they're not going anywhere. As Anna had mentioned earlier, we can tune back to these videos on our LinkedIn, on our Facebook, on our YouTube channel, for that matter, as well as read even more material on a place at home franchise.com. All right. So that you can see in the blog even more of this stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And then we're going to take Rick's comment here, because I love this bet here. I think there's a definitely a good opportunity here. Check this out. Rick, again, a leader in this brand and somebody I respect a lot. Check this out. See, this is what's at risk, right? If we don't think of these areas where your business becomes more profitable and doing them well, right? We risk businesses not being profitable, going out of business, right? And not being able to impact the lives of folks who needed them. That's what's at stake here. It's our ultimate individual at the end of this service who's relying on your great care staff team to be able to get this done and deliver that kind of service. And we need to think as entrepreneurs who are in the driver's seat, right? What strategic impact are we making, right? And Rick, if we were to flip this around, it would be that, that you as a home care company are doing business, right? Because you're impacting the right people in the right seats, right? And getting even more customers, right? So if you flip that around, that's how we move forward. But indeed, this is the reality for businesses who struggle to see that this is the challenge. Facing it head on and executing well by leading and developing great people around you is how we turn this reality felt by several businesses in and out of this industry and turn it into something profitable and bigger for their own loved ones, employees, and folks around them. Great comment, Rick. I love that. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, how about that? We're just rocking and rolling here. But guys, indeed, as Anna had said, we're excited to circle back next week talking about marketing and how to grow this business. Keep your eyes peeled, and we're going to see you next week. How about that?
All right. See everyone.
Woo! Bye.